Hello, my name is Elizabeth McGuire, and I'm the candidate for a Master's Health Science. That's Master's of Science in Health Science at NKU, and I'm enrolled in the class CHP 603. Today, my presentation is on community partners and connecting the dots. So I always like to start off my presentation with getting people start thinking. So just think of a time where change happened. Like it could be a personal change, it could be a community change, it could be a change within your workplace, but just a big change. If it's a personal change, that's awesome. And hopefully, you were able to do that without community partners or a partnership with anybody. And, that just shows tremendous growth of who you are if you can do that. Um, you know, think of a community change and how did that happen? It just didn't happen overnight. It probably, if you start thinking about it, it was a whole lot of people involved in a lot of ways to make that change happen. So community partners are essential if you're looking for widespread change where you live, work, or play. It takes a lot. Like I use that connecting the dots, connecting all these different community partners. So, and today in this presentation, we're going to talk about what is a community partner, ways to build community partners, what do we need, why do we need community partners, characteristics of effective partnerships, and then I like to give just two examples of a community partnership within my own career. So this first slide, just what is a community partner? I really like to use this diagram. This is called the egg chart, and it's from the MAP process, which is a tool that a lot of communities use to create community health assessments. So this is very health focused with this diagram. So it just shows that it takes everyone to come up with a community health assessment. It takes several different partners, anywhere from police to parks to the health department to hospitals to doctors to just employees and employers within the county. I had somebody once say, well, what about, restaurants? Are they a community partner? Absolutely, they're a community partner. If they can share the same goals and want to make a difference, they can definitely be a community partner within your county. I like to use Panera, not that I'm promoting Panera or anything, but we were working on a homeless population, working with them within our county. Our homeless shelter closed, and so we were seeing a high number of homeless. So how we were going to address that within our community. So our church has really stepped up and was a big community partner with that. But Panera Bread decided, hey, we can help. We can be partners in that. And so at night, they would throw away their baked goods and they were donating those to our homeless shelter, so a way to help feed them. So that's a community partner. So I always like to what is community and what is a partnership. So a community is a broad term, and it can be used to describe in a place such as a city, a neighborhood, a classroom. A community can be also described as interactions, relationships among people or groups. So, what do you think of community? What does community mean to you? That's one of my discussion questions, so that will come back around to you. Partner or a partnership can be a written, spoken, and an informal agreement where two or more people work together towards a mutual goal. And we'll talk a lot about mutual goals because that is key to a successful partnership. You gotta kind of have the same goals, what you want your outcomes to be. There are many different definitions and ideas that surface when describing a partnership. It can be formal, informal, unspoken. There's lots of different things, but they must include people or groups, and they must work together. And so the most experts even say a partnership must benefit both sides to be truly effective. So 3 words that I like to use to build a community partnership is be connected, need communication, and collaborate. So being connected within your community, partner organizations, anything that you can connect. Networking is key. I think the more networking that you can do within your community, being connected in your community, the better community partnerships will be. Communicate. Don't be afraid to ask those tough questions. Ask those partnerships for help. We want to, the more we can communicate together, the better off the community will be. And then collaborate. Collaborate together. Step outside of those silos, that we sometimes put up. A lot of times we want to put up these walls because it's easier. Well, I'll just work on this over here and work on it, and I really don't need anybody else's help. But we got to break those down. We got to work together. And so putting those down. I always like to use a example of, here at my workplace, we have a little pot of money, and another organization within our county has a little pot of money, and then our hospital may have a little pot of money, and another agency might have a little pot of money, or not have no money but have the manpower. When we all can come together, those little pots of money and manpower can do great things within the community. So what do employers look for in a community partnership? To ensure a good match and build trust. Determine what wants to be accomplished, what can bring to the table. What do you want from your partnerships? Making that commitment is one thing. Frame expectations. Determine and communicate the advantages for partners in the community. Be clear about the roles. Hey, I can bring this to the table. I can bring this to the table. But understanding what everybody can bring and that it is important. Learn the language and cultures of partners. Take time to understand the language and what people are all, doing together. Provide support and invest in those participants. Build relationships. That's such a big one. Building those relationships within your community is key. Establish an evaluation. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to, okay, we want to do this, but how are we going to evaluate it? How are we going to know it's going to make a difference? Try to, set that at the beginning. That's what employers want to look for. So the reference this came from was the value of community partnerships from CDC. And of course, this was in 2013, which is still, very valid today. So quickly, I'm just going to shoot through some tips for success. So, to ensure broad-based partnerships, seek partnerships that are in your community to ensure that there's mutual benefit. Don't wait to get all the partners involved. Most partnership expands over time, so don't lose any momentum you have waiting on others to join. Secure commitments from partnerships. Ask partnerships and individuals and assign those roles when you need, make sure that everybody kind of knows what they're expected. Seek input from community partners. Develop that vision rather than rubber stamping it. Include partners in decision making. That's keys. This builds the feeling of ownership and empower with stakeholders. A couple other things is to use committees. You might be something really big that you want to do in the community, and not all people can do it. So use little committees to work on certain areas. Develop and share those shareable goals. Listen and be responsive to key stakeholders in your community. Don't try to be all things to all people. Make yourself available. This indicates your willingness to volunteer for your time and mutual benefit. You can't say you want to partner on something and never show up. That's just, it's not going to work. And then don't hesitate to think big. Think big, dream big. Make those bold decisions and move forward with them. This is just a graph. I'm not going to go over it, but I like to use this. This is a readiness factors. And so you have to have all 4 factors to make sure that your community partner is ready. They have to have that shared vision go, a credibility, commitment to invest, and core leadership. Oh, is so important. You got to have those people in leadership to support you. And so if you have all four of those factors, it shows that you are definitely ready to partnership. So an example I like to use is in my current position as a health educator, I came into it wanting me to run a diabetes support group. Now, granted, I can talk about some diabetes. I know a little bit, of course, about it. But did I know it all? Absolutely not. So I planned out my year, and the things that I felt really strong about that I could teach. Of course, I did. But I brought in so many community partners who were on the same page and wanted more. So this was just something that I did. I put the months together and the topics that we wanted to talk about through a needs assessment of our members. And I pulled those community partners. So like in February, they wanted nutrition, foods for a diabetic. So I brought in a nutritionist from the health department. In March, talking about setting goals and how important that is. And so we brought in a life coach from Humana. Insulin, medications, and in July, that's such a key informant. I never felt comfortable enough teaching that. So we brought in a pharmacist from Walmart. They were willing to do that. So you can see we had a nurse practitioner, we had a cardiologist, we had the American Diabetes Association. So I pulled in all these community partners who have the same goals, who want to better off, and to help me as well, because like I said, I'm not the expert in everything. And so, but holiday substitutes, I felt very comfortable teaching that. What can we have instead of this and that, or exercise, as exercise is a little bit of my background. So I felt very comfortable teaching that, but leaning on my community partners within my county was key to this. Lastly, I like to think about COVID-19. Think about when COVID hit. What community partners did we lean on in our area? Of course, we leaned on our state and local health departments, our universities, our hospitals. They were so key within COVID-19, especially when the world shut down. I think about my biggest thing that I think about a community partner was a pharmacy here in our county, and people couldn't get out to get their medications. What are you going to do? How are we going to do that? And our one of our local pharmacies was like, hey, we're going to step up. We're going to drive. We're going to take medications to those people who can't get out and need those desperate things. And so, that was a huge community involvement partnership within our county. Our churches did food boxes and dropped them off to people who were positive for COVID-19 at the beginning because they couldn't get out to pick up groceries. So there were several things. Community partners were just as essential to make a difference in your community. So these are our references, of course. And then I also will write these out, but I have some couple questions to discuss. And so what do you think community means? What does that partnership mean to you? Create a list of resources in your community that will help enhance your education in your workplace. And then what challenges of community engagement? How do you keep your community partners engaged and involved? So thank you for taking your time to listen, and we'll see you soon.